Hello everyone, welcome to F1 Racing. Are you ready to experience the thrill of the 2023 Australian Grand Prix? This year's event was a nail-biting spectacle, with fans on the edge of their seats. The race at Melbourne's iconic Albert Park circuit featured some of the world's top Formula One drivers, including Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, and Fernando Alonso. But who claimed victory in this most thrilling Grand Prix race? In this video, we'll reveal the winner and walk you through the race's highlights, which drew a record-breaking 444,631 spectators. It was a Grand Prix unlike any other, with 3 red flags being thrown, so buckle up and join us for an unforgettable ride. After that Melbourne magic, it has taken some time, but Lewis Hamilton is finally back in the lead position. The 7-time world champion finished 3rd at the Australian Grand Prix, lifting some of the Silver Arrow's early season doom and gloom. Although he could not overtake Max Verstappen and Red Bull for the race victory in Australia, Hamilton took the top spot in another set of standings thanks to his P2 finish. Following the race, F1 released its official power rankings for drivers, and it was the 38-year-old Hamilton who topped the list. Russell was able to snag a spot on the front row, edging out Hamilton by the 10th and out-qualifying his 7-time world champion teammate for the 3rd time this season. "I thought the last run was excellent," Verstappen said. "The entire weekend has been challenging to get the tires ready to push right away, but it worked out in Q3, and I am thrilled with the lap and to be on pole. Although we will have a good race car, keeping the tires alive for an exciting race will be difficult." Max Verstappen led the World Drivers' Championship with 44 points heading into the weekend, 1 point ahead of teammate Sergio Perez in 2nd and 14 points ahead of Fernando Alonso in 3rd. Red Bull Racing led the Constructors' Championship with 87 points, followed by Aston Martin and Mercedes, which had 38 points. There were no additional stand-in drivers for the race, so the drivers and teams were the same as the season entry list. A 4th DRS zone was suggested between turns 8 and 9 after the Albert Park circuit's renovation in 2021 and the removal of the turn 9 and 10 chicane. The new DRS zone was scrapped after the first day of practice during the 2022 Australian Grand Prix weekend due to safety concerns some drivers raised. After hearing favorable feedback from the FIA and Formula One, Grand Prix chief Andrew Westacott told Melbourne's Herald Sun that the DRS zone would be reintroduced for this edition. Sergio Perez locked up in the first segment due to a technical issue, resulting in a red flag after becoming stuck in the gravel trap. During the second practice session, Lando Norris, who qualified 13th, collided with some gravel but got back on track. He was eliminated along with Esteban Ocon, Yuki Tsunoda, Kevin Magnussen, and Nick de Vries. In the third practice session, Max Verstappen reported having a few minor issues with his car. George Russell eventually finished first, ahead of teammate Lewis Hamilton. Charles Leclerc, who finished 7th in qualifying, criticized his driving, saying, "I wasn't on it. I could have done an excellent job of driving. It was my fault because I wasn't putting everything together." George Russell overtook pole sitter Max Verstappen, who had wheel spin, to take the race's lead, and Hamilton passed him later. Following contact with Lance Stroll, Charles Leclerc spun into the gravel at turn 3, prompting the use of the safety car. The race resumed on lap 4. 3 laps later, on lap 7, Alexander Albon lost control of his vehicle and collided severely at turn 7, bringing out the safety car again. Russell then changed his tires for new complex compounds, allowing teammate Lewis Hamilton to overtake him. Carlos Sainz Jr. quickly followed suit. The race was stopped so that marshals could clear the track of the gravel and debris that Albon's car had left behind. Because Russell and Sainz had just changed their tires during the safety car period, they could not compete because rivals could do so during the stoppage. Hamilton maintained his lead at the second restart but would soon lose it as Verstappen overtook him with DRS into turn 9. Russell passed Pierre Gasly for 4th on lap 14, and Sainz passed Lance Stroll the following lap. Russell's power unit caught fire on lap 18, resulting in Mercedes' first mechanical retirement of the season and a brief virtual safety car period. Despite a brief moment on lap 46 when he understeered into the grass coming into the final corners, Verstappen would win the race comfortably. Despite losing several seconds, he recovered and maintained first place. Verstappen had a 10-second lead over Hamilton by the end of the race. At turn 2, Kevin Magnussen's right rear wheel made contact with the wall, causing his rear suspension to be damaged and the tire to come off. The race was red flagged again on lap 55. The race was restarted, with Verstappen maintaining his lead. The Alpines of Gasly and Esteban Ocon ended their races in the wall after a heavy collision, and Nick De Vries and Logan Sargent found themselves in the gravel and out of the race as the cars approached turn 1. Stroll, despite also running into the gravel, managed to recover his car and continue the race. For the third time, the race was red flagged. The cars disqualified because they had not yet arrived at the first timing line were removed from the starting lineup when the race restarted on the final lap. Max Verstappen won the Australian Grand Prix for the first time before Hamilton and Alonso and Perez, who started from the pit lane, finished 5th. The race was restarted with a rolling start at the end of lap 58, also when the checkered flag was displayed at the finish line. Oscar Piastri finished 8th and in the points with teammate Lando Norris, giving McLaren its first points finish of the season. No further action was taken following an investigation into Gasly's crash into Ocon. Stewards determined that no investigation was required into the first lap contact between Stroll and Leclerc. During the race, Sainz was penalized 5 seconds for colliding with Alonso on the second restart. After the race, this penalty was applied to his total race time, moving him from 4th to 12th in his final classification. Sainz blasted the penalty over team radio and after the race calling it the most unfair penalty I've ever seen in my life. Alonso, who collided with Sainz to earn the penalty, agreed it was too harsh. After the race, Haas protested the provisional classification, claiming that Hülkenberg and Haas could have finished on the podium for the first time if Sainz hadn't received the 5-second time penalty. Before the third red flag, the Haas driver was running in 4th place, but the restart that followed dropped him to 7th. The FIA received criticism from several drivers for handling red flags and restarts, which impacted the strategies of Russell, Sainz, Verstappen, and Hülkenberg. The reason for Hamilton's high ranking, and a score of 9 out of 10, was that he displayed his racecraft to manage his tires while keeping the cunning Fernando Alonso behind, with his staunch defense drawing some positive post-race reviews from the Spaniard. George Russell, Hamilton's Mercedes teammate, scored 9 out of 10, allowing him to share P1 with Hamilton after a fine drive hampered first by an untimely red flag and then ruined entirely by a mechanical DNF. Verstappen questioned Hamilton's adherence to the rules but admitted he would have done the same if he hadn't been on pole. The rules are quite clear about what you're allowed to do on the outside, but it's not followed, Red Bull driver Verstappen said immediately after the race. "I thought it was pretty decent," Hamilton said. "He braked early and I braked late. I was entirely inside, and we both made room for each other. The point of racing is to avoid collisions, so I didn't run him off the road and he didn't turn in on me." Verstappen later told Sky Sports 1 that he did not want to make a big deal out of the situation. "If it were the other way around, I'd probably do the same," he said. "I'll bring it up, but I don't want to make it a big deal. When the rules were written this way, I assumed they would be followed. I believe that under the new regulations, if you're racing from the outside and you're ahead at the apex, you should be given space at the exit, which I didn't think I was because I was actually avoiding being crashed into." Given Red Bull's dominance, Mercedes has been all doom and gloom this season, with team principal Toto Wolff confirming significant changes to their design philosophy are in the works. After Friday's practice, Russell and Hamilton stated that the third row of the grid was the best they could hope for in qualifying. Still, as the pole position shootout unfolded, with Perez absent, it became clear that the W14s were Verstappen's main rivals. As the first runs concluded, Verstappen narrowly edged Hamilton out of the provisional pole by the smallest of margins. The 38-year-old's chances of winning his first pole since December 2021 became more likely. However, with only one flying lap after the field pitted for new tires, Verstappen delivered a stunning lap that would be enough to secure the two-time world champion his first pole at Albert Park. Russell could reduce the distance to 0.3 seconds, but Hamilton's attempt to catch up to Verstappen was unsuccessful because Hülkenberg obstructed the Mercedes' passage on the final lap. "This is completely unexpected," Hamilton stated. "I'm extremely proud of the team. George did a fantastic job there today, so being up on the front 2 rows is genuinely a dream come true for us. We're all working hard to get back up to the front. So being this close to Red Bull is incredible." Meanwhile, Lewis Hamilton has joked that he's prepared to defy a jewelry ban. Niels Wittich, F1's new race director, has prioritized the clampdown ahead of Sunday's race. While the ban on jewelry has been in place since 2004, Wittich, the German who took over for Michael Masi, brought it to the forefront in his pre-race notes before addressing the issue directly with Hamilton and his teammates in Friday night's driver's briefing. According to Wittich, the law exists to protect the driver by not impeding a quick exit from their vehicle. However, Hamilton, who has jewelry in his nose and ears, stated, I have some piercings that I can't get rid of and that few people are aware of. I'm joking. It's been the rule since I've been in F1, so nothing new. I'm just going to make more jewelry next week. According to the FIA clause, the wearing of jewelry in the form of body piercing or metal neck chains is prohibited during the competition and may thus be checked before the start. Hamilton could be fined or docked points if he violates the sporting code. In the first two practices for the Australian Grand Prix this weekend, Lewis Hamilton voiced his frustration over Mercedes' early season struggles. The 7-time world champion finished P1 over 1.2 seconds behind Ferrari's Carlos Sainz after setting the 7th fastest time and then finished P2 in 13th, over 1.5 seconds behind Sainz's teammate Charles Leclerc. Hamilton made no secret that it had been a difficult day for him and revealed that the team was struggling to solve the issues the reigning Constructors' champions have faced thus far. "It was a challenging session," Hamilton said. "At the moment, nothing you can change on the car makes a difference. That's the difficult part. You come in with high hopes, make changes, and then it doesn't seem to want to improve. We've made some adjustments for P2. P1 was easier for me, but P2 proved more difficult. I'm not sure. It's just a tricky car. It'll not be easy to find our way back. There's just not much we can do. This is how it is, so we must deal with it. That's the frustrating part because you're trying to push, try to catch, and even when you do a good lap, it's 1.2 seconds slower, so it's complicated." Hamilton's teammate George Russell echoed those sentiments after failing to break the top 10 fastest times in either session. Russell revealed how various setup changes have been unable to solve his problems, including additional issues with porpoising at specific points around the Albert Park track. "We're not where we want to be. There are quite a few midfield cars ahead of us, and we're quite off the pace from the front," Russell explained. "We're porpoising as we approach turn 9. It's probably the worst I've ever felt, but we must live with it now. We believe that is the fastest way around the track, but it could be wrong. We need to keep digging into the data to figure out how we went from left, right, and center with the setup, and all ended up with the same result. We must stay on top of things and figure out why." Meanwhile, Hamilton said he was so happy right now after his remarkable first podium of the season, which came after 5th place finishes in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. According to the 7-time world champion, the car has been difficult, and finishing on the podium is a truly remarkable, especially given that we haven't changed the car. Right now, I'm overjoyed. Red Bull flew by and disappeared, so we have a lot of work to do to catch them, but this gives us real hope and an energy boost. This reminds everyone to dig deep and keep pushing because the prize isn't far away and is within reach. We can undoubtedly compete with Ferraris and Aston Martins. Max Verstappen is in a different league because his car is fast. He was 10 meters in front of me when he passed me halfway down the straight. I'm not sure how they're so fast on the straight. It's insane. They're simply in a different league. This will continue until we reach their straightaway speed and possess their incredible cornering downforce. As Lewis Hamilton celebrates his first podium of the season, we're left wondering, can Mercedes catch up to Red Bull? Hamilton admits that the team has a lot of work ahead of them if they want to keep up with Verstappen and his blisteringly fast car. So, do you think they will find the necessary speed and downforce to compete at the highest level? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Until next time, goodbye.